start with the Roman occupation. Just really quick. Massive Jewish empire, lasted about 400 or 500 years. Romans kick them out. Romans hold on to it until the not Ottomans, but till more Muslim Arab groups take them out. They last until the Ottomans. Ottomans conquer them. Ottomans stay until World War I. Zionism starts roughly around 1850, and Zionism is the idea that Jewish people should go back to Israel and take back what is biblically Israel. You'll hear a term called Eretz Israel. That's the land of biblical Israel. Again, my pronunciation is terrible. I do not speak Hebrew. I speak a tiny, tiny bit of Arabic, so correct me if someone in here speaks Hebrew. So Eretz Israel, and it starts getting in the mind of people, especially in elite foreign policy circles in England and in a couple of the Western European nations, for two reasons. People of Jewish heritage within positions of power were like, hey, we got to do something. We've been oppressed through all 19th century European history, as well as Russian and definitely American. We got to go somewhere. And so they start thinking of places to go, and they start using their positions of influence to encourage politicians. And that is kind of how Zionism gets started. They end up, one of the more famous Zionist plants is in Argentina. It's still there. There's like 100 Jewish people waiting for everybody else to go meet them in Argentina. They've been there for about 100 years. The other big one was in Israel. And so you start seeing the first wave of Zionists coming in about 1905, 1910. Brother Phil, come on in. So the first wave of Zionism starts in about 1905, 1910. Eventually, World War I happens. Ottomans get their butts kicked, and the British are like, hey, we really like this area. This is our map again. Sorry, it's kind of vague. Remember, the British have Egypt. This will be worth it in a second. The British have Egypt roughly around this time period. They like this area. They want to have it. And all of a sudden, everyone else is like, hey, you can't have it. We all want it. It's all important. It's all a holy site. So the English developed this special term called a protectorate over Israel. And during that time period, Zionism begins, and migration, mostly of poor Jewish Eastern European immigrants, starts. Rich Western European Jewish people buy land in small little pockets all around, and they start sending lots and lots of poor people to go start farming there that are Jewish, and these little tiny little settlements start popping up. Just to give our map some reference, let's make this right here is Jerusalem. That's where the Dome of the Rock is. The Western Wall. This was the center of all monotheistic religions. It's also birthplace of many famous people, roughly. So this is Jerusalem. Brits want it. They're like, hey, let's make this an international zone. They don't know what to do. Long story short, slowly, pockets of Jewish Europeans, a lot of Russians that were very happy with the newly evolving Soviet empire. Yeah, so they started settling. The big thing why I'm saying this is all 1920, 1930, 1940. This is long before the Holocaust started happening, which is really important to note. Come on, you guys. Just because it comes up a lot in American foreign policy circles that it all happened right after the Holocaust. Hundreds of thousands of people were there long before, and they start. Argentina, that colonization project kind of got dropped. So here we are, 1945-ish. There's so many Jewish people. They've been breaking British law for good reasons. They're fleeing either Spanish or Italian or German barbarism. I don't know what to call it. Definitely the Holocaust. Massive illegal immigration, and they don't know what to do. Eventually they get enough power, and right before the UN declares Israel a free, independent Jewish state, they had their own revolution, and they took over a couple months ahead of time, and they declared the state of Israel a little preemptively, but nonetheless it became a state in 1948. That is when, at that time, what we now know, this is all drawn modern day, this is Gaza. I used to always think it's on the other side. And this is modern day West Bank. Definitely not drawn to proportion, but that is roughly what they look like. 1948, they attack. All the people in here, not all of them, but lots and lots of them, either die or get pushed off their land and pushed over into these little areas. Or up here, just in case you weren't sure, this is Lebanon. And this is the kingdom of Transjordan, eventually just becoming Jordan. And Jordan and Egypt say, hey, we'll just take all these Palestinian people because we're Arab brothers. That sounds like a good idea. Well, that didn't. It lasted for about a year, and then they started noticing that all these massive Palestinian influxes started messing up their political systems. And a lot of these people were working class, and there was a massive rise of Arab nationalism, Arab socialism, and communism. And they said, lots of working class Palestinians going into our country, not very fun. Then eventually, Egypt and Lebanon, not so much, but definitely Jordan. This is about the 60s. They say, hey, we are going to, we got to do something about this. There's a really, really powerful leader in Egypt named Anwar al-Sadat, and he says, hey, Israel, you're not so big and tough. Don't worry, your time is coming soon. Israel takes that in 1967 as a declaration of war, and they preemptively attack, and they grab Gaza, which this was all Egypt, and this was all Jordan. And they draw in these nice little borders, and they say, hey, Gaza is ours. West Bank is ours. And this is the Golan Heights, which used to be part of Syria. Syria is right here. And yeah, so that is now, that brings us up roughly to the present. Nothing much important has happened since then. Not true, just kidding, it's a bad joke. Okay, so then we started having, this is Gaza. We're not going to pay attention to it for a while. Just in case you're coming here thinking that we'd only talk about Gaza, Gaza is not my expertise field, so sorry to let you down. We will talk about it near the end though, and because it's super, super important. But I was mostly in West Bank. Okay, enough history for a while. I'm sure they're good on history. Maybe about a year ago, I got in my head. I was like, you know what? I had this brain. I can write so-so. I need to go there. I need to do something. So I started shopping around for internships, and I found one with the Palestinian Human Rights Monitoring Group, and they put out these little monitors. Just in case you haven't seen the wall, that's what the wall looks like. And they put out these little things. These end up in activist rooms like you're seeing now. They also end up on the floor of the UN. And it's my little, I was like, I can do one little piece, a little drop of water in the ocean, as far as dedicating something to this cause. I didn't know what I was getting into at that time, but I knew I wanted to do something, so they were the first people to call me back, so I went with them. These are lists of all these really, really, really important NGOs and nonprofits that work in Israel, Palestine, so check them out. I'll talk about them and I'll reference them so I went with the Palestinian Human Rights Monitoring Group. And I get there, and I show up to work. I have like a little tie on. I stayed in the city. I stayed in Mark Twain's old room in a hotel, and like maybe a quarter mile away from the Dome of the Rock. It was beautiful. I'm all excited. I go to work, and they're like, "Okay, so what are you gonna write about? You need to fill up one of these things." And I said, "Damn it, I didn't really think about this." And about that same time, actually on the plane, I read a book. I'll talk a little bit in a while about how to get to Israel, how to get involved in actions, all that kind of stuff, because some people in here, whether by having a police record or by having an Arab-sounding last name or by all these different things, you might not get in just straight off the bat. So if you're interested in going, I'll definitely talk at length about that, or if you want to pull me aside afterwards, I'll talk to you about that. But yeah, so I'm like, God, man, what do I study? And at that same time, BSLM, one of my favorite human rights groups, they specialize in providing really